In this video, we will walk you through the integration of the Expo Flutter SDK. We'll set up a simple example application on both Android and iOS to demonstrate the functionality of the SDK. We'll begin by navigating the step-by-step setup process for the Flutter SDK. Then, using Flutter, we will show you how to configure the two example applications. Throughout this video, we'll be following the straightforward instructions provided in the Expo Flutter SDK repository on GitHub. You can check this repository for all of the most up-to-date information and instructions. First, download the Flutter SDK bundle that was provided in the official Flutter documentation. Then, to store the bundle, create a development folder in the root directory and unzip the contents of the file in this location. Then proceed by adding Flutter to your path, following the instructions outlined in the documentation. Copy the command provided and paste it into your file. Then restart the terminal so the installation can take effect. And now we can see that we have the current version of Flutter SDK installed on the machine. Let's now follow to Android application setup. To begin, let's clone the project from the Expo Flutter SDK GitHub and save it in your desired location. Then we can change the directory to the directory inside of your example folder. Now, if you'd like to, you can connect your mobile phone and use developer mode to run the application directly, or you can use an emulator, like the one we are using in Android Studio. Then, using the terminal, run Flutter emulators to see a list of emulated devices, or type Flutter devices for a list of connected devices. Here we can see that we have an Android 13 device already configured. Now we can run the command. This will start our Android application on the emulated device. Now the example Android application is ready. Let's see how to set up an example application for the iOS operating system. To run the application, first we need to install something called CocoaPods. The quickest way to install this is by using the Homebrew Package Manager. Then we can continue with the installation of CocoaPods by using the command brew install CocoaPods. Now change the directory to Expo Flutter SDK. Once we are in the iOS example folder, we can run pod install to install dependencies for the application. Now open the example folder in Xcode, click Run, and your iOS application will start. Let's now go through a process of testing the example application. When you start the application, you are going to see input fields for the project token, authorization token, advanced authorization token, and a base URL. You can find your project token by going to Project Settings, Access Management, and then select API from the drop-down menu. Here you can find your project token, base URL, and API token for the application. For the purpose of testing this application, you can leave the advanced authorization input field blank. Now let's proceed to the main page of the application. Clicking on the Configured button should output true if the application was set up correctly. Then we can scroll down and track a session start and a regular event. We can then test the app by identifying a test user in the application, which will create a user profile in the platform. We can see these events tracked in Bloomreach by navigating to customers in your project and looking for the test user profile. Now you know how to set up the Expo Flutter SDK in both of the Android and iOS example apps. For further information, go to the Flutter Expo SDK GitHub documentation.